you know us. You know how it is. At least once a year, we have one screw up in the audio, and that time happened with this review. I'm in New York. The rest of the guys are in Austin, and we're rushing to get this review done, and I guess I forgot to set something that made me sound like I'm a little distant from the mic. The rest of the guys, they sound fairly normal. Now, the way I look at it, as much stuff as we put out, we're allowed at least one audio screw-up card a year to redeem, and we're going to redeem this one right now. So I hope it doesn't affect the review too much. I didn't want to record it over again because I didn't want to lose a spot in 80. We fixed it up as much as we could. When you listen to it, I don't think it's going to be that much of a distraction. So enjoy it, and I promise to not screw up again, at least not until next year. All right, thanks. So this is what it would be like if the Punisher found Jesus.
and went to Africa.
Yeah.
Actually, isn't that what you do when you're a badass and you find Jesus? You don't just hang around your suburb yelling at people. You actually go do something about it.
Or you literally go to hell and you fight the demons there.
If you are a biker or a mercenary, Africa is the place to go. Because, like I said, if the Punisher goes to Africa, he can kill all the people he wants and not have to worry about the cops coming down on him.
Sure, and co-host, you're right, but only if you're Nicolas Cage.
Oh,
That's the only time you go to hell in that case.
Well, you know, with a title like Machine Gun Preacher, that's kind of what you're expecting. You're expecting the Punisher in Africa, which, you know, I'm like, oh, wow, this is going to be fucking badass, like right off the heels of Hobo with a Shotgun.
Yeah, it sounds like something like that.
Yeah, they should have it like the next movie, that the sequel is Machine Gun Preacher versus Hobo with a Shotgun.
Right? Playing with nuns with guns.
Yeah, but this sounds like a Grindhouse kind of film, but it's not. It's supposed to be a dark but inspirational biopic about an actual guy, Sam Childers, who started out as pretty much an ex-convict, drug-dealing, drug-snorting, shooting up.
He started off as an asshole.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think he took drugs, suppositories, stuck them up his ass. I mean, any way he could take some, he did it.
Even the Sons of Anarchy are like, man, stop being such a jerk.
Yeah, this guy would have walked into Mos Eisley, and everybody would have turned around and not faced him.
Yeah, it's him, Machine Gun Preacher. Don't look at him. Now, this guy, he was a bad guy, man. If you go by this movie, because this movie, as they always say, is based on a true story, but especially looking at this movie, I'm going to say some things are exaggerated, but we'll talk about that in a little while. But this guy gets out of prison. I mean, to show you how bad this guy is and how much of a turnaround he made in his life, he gets home, pretty much says hi to his little kid and walks into his trailer and just starts raising hell, tells his mother go fuck herself, and looks at his wife, who's like said, hey, baby, you know, I found Jesus and I'm not stripping anymore. And he's like,
bullshit, you better get back on that pole.
He's like, found Jesus, you better find a fucking pole and get back on it.
Fuck Jesus, you found me. Yeah. Did we mention that this guy's an asshole?
Yeah. I mean, the guy is bad.
You can find Jesus all you want as long as he tips 20 for table dancing.
No, it's Jesus. You better tip 40. But, man, everybody is like saying, hey, look, you know, you're out of control. He's like, you know, fuck y'all, I'm going to get a hit. He leaves, goes and gets high with his buddy, who's played by one of my favorite character actors in the movie. What's that guy? Michael Shannon.
Shannon.
Yeah,
your favorite.
He's one of my favorites, whose name I can't remember.
Yeah, what's that guy? I love, what's his name?
Oh, we're all broken. Come on.
Yeah.
Come down too hard on him.
Yeah. But this guy, man, yeah, he goes out and gets it. He comes back home and he's high as hell, raising hell. I think on his way home decides to rob some black people and stab a hobo nearly to death. And when that hobo survives, and his friend Donnie, played by Michael Shannon, comes back and says, man, you know, I don't know, that guy's talking. He says, damn, you know, I better hurry up and do something before I go back to jail. He's like, I know, I'll find Jesus. He goes to church the next day, starts playing up that he's a really good guy now. He's turned his life around, and he turns his life around so much that in one of the services one day, they have a guest pastor come in. This guy tells about the plight of Sudanese orphans who are being terrorized by the Lord's, rebellion army, the Lord's resistance army.
Over in Africa, you got warlords and warring factions. So yeah, some are rebels. it's hard to know who's the good guy and who's the bad guy.
Yeah.
But these kids are definitely not the bad guys because, they're being orphans and their families are being murdered in the middle of the night. It's pretty rough.
Oh, yeah. No, lions killing people with machetes.
Those rains are not being blessed.
That's the thing, co-host. That's the old days. Like back in the day, yeah. In Africa, the worst thing you worried about was a lion. A lion ain't shit now.
Yeah. The lions are hiding out.
You got
see that motherfucker with a gun? The guy's crazy.
Shit, I was
picking up blood dimes.
I know. I was in the post office the other day. There was a line trying to get his goddamn his what you call it? His passport to get the fuck out of Africa. So yeah, Cole said it's hell over there. The Lord's Resistance Army is they kidnap children and kill their families, or have the children kill their own families, and they take them and recruit them into their army, or make sex slaves out of them. It's a horrible thing. This guy says, somebody has to do something. And he's pretty much looking at this situation like, there are people over there who are doing things like bringing food, who are bringing medicine, and those people are a bunch of faggots. They ain't got no guns. They ain't killing nobody. That's what they need. So he decides to go over there, and when he's building an orphanage, the children's orphanage he calls it, and he starts to be terrorized by the Lord's Resistance Army, he says, I ain't having this. He said, motherfucker, I used to be a Hell's Angel. I used to at least live like one. I know my guns. I used to be a party animal. I didn't give a shit about anything. That's what this country needs. And so he takes it into his own hands to become pretty much a vigilante over there, to the point where these people think, they call him the machine gun preacher. They think that this guy has magical powers. He's the white preacher who can come in and can't be harmed by anyone. And apparently, great white hope. Yeah, and apparently they're right about that, because, if it had been anybody else, those Africans would have ate his ass. This guy is a modern day superhero because these Africans have not been able to kill him yet. At least if you go by this film, which is one of the things that I found sort of unbelievable about the movie. I don't know how much to buy in this film about how he's going over there and he's pretty much a one-man army for the Lord. This guy in the movie, my problem with the film, because I want to really praise this film. I think that this film is shedding light on something that people need to know about. I mean, we hear about Africa all the time, but you really need to be reminded about how they go over there, rape children, cut their limbs off, burn them alive, all kind of horrible things. I really want people to be behind this film. But when I look at when I look at this movie, there are things that just don't convince me about how the events took place. Like Sam Childers, who's played here by Gerard Butler, man. I love Gerard Butler in the movie. I think he's a great actor. I want to see him get bigger projects, but one day he's a hellraiser, and then in one night he decides, okay, I want to turn my life over to the Lord.
Really, I didn't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah, I actually bought that.
The intensity of the act of violence that he commits is what changes him. When he goes over the line to the point that he's horrified by his own actions, and he's so frightened, and he's already got people surrounding him in his life who've gone to Jesus, that I didn't find even mildly surprising that he would have switched like that.
I might have found it more abrupt too, if not for the fact that he did have so many people in his life trying to get him to go that way already. So that was just that last thing to push him over.
Yeah. I was already thinking how fucked up his life was.
And I thought the whole crusade for Jesus thing, I thought that came into more of the forefront as soon as he got more involved with what was going on with these kids. It seemed like he finally had like a purpose, and he really like drove that home with his whole congregation. But because in the movie you see him really pushing his congregation to let them know that, look, this is hell over there for these kids, and we're over here. It makes him open his eyes to what he sees around him, where it's like people are complaining about shit I just don't understand anymore, especially after seeing kids over here fucking butchering their own parents because they're forced by gunpoint to do so.
And one of the things I liked about it was in that same angle, while you've got this guy, waking up to how the world works like that, and deciding to do it, say like, look, we're Christians, we're the people who are supposed to do something about this. The fact is that just because he found Jesus doesn't change the fact that this is a guy filled with anger and hate.
Oh, yeah.
That he has deep emotional problems, and that once he goes over there and he's trying to be like a man of God and everything, ultimately, like, he can't control his own anger and hate against what he's seeing and dealing with until it starts to take over his life yet again.
I don't doubt that the real Sam Childers turned his life around like this. In the movie, for me, to save time, they sped it up and for the purpose of the movie, not the actual man's story, but for the purpose of the film. I just thought, like,
they glossed over it really quick. I myself could have used some more development there. But
Really?
Yeah, I could have. I mean,
I thought the majority of it was pretty much development. I mean, I could see some people, thinking, okay, how realistic is this? Only because when the scenes that come up where he's actually like out there by himself fighting with a machine gun, I mean, you're like, wow, this guy is untouchable. I mean, he is pretty much Rambo out there. I mean, he's like a modern day Rambo. And to see it in a film, especially since it's filmed so well, I mean, the actions, if you even want to call them action scenes, but just when all hell breaks loose, they're filmed so well that it kind of, I don't want to say it really takes you out of the movie that much, but it does kind of remind you, wow, this seems like an action film that every once in a while brings in this real heavy drama.
You know what? I would have to agree with you there that there's times it just feels very movie-ish and so biopic-ish. And I was like, you know what? As interesting as this story is, I might have preferred to see a documentary than to see how they dress the story up and make it larger than life.
Yeah.
Because it kind of loses something in that.
Yeah,
Right.
Making
him a one-man army force. There's times he does become the Punisher in Africa, the unknown soldier. And it's like, just hearing about the real guy and seeing how it really went down would mean more to me. Plus, okay, they show us the problem in Africa, and it's horrific. You go like, man, somebody should do something about this. And you say, like, well, this guy did. He picked up a gun and started killing people. And I'm going to go, oh, well, I ain't going to do that.
No, fuck that. I mean, I'm sure this guy rented fucking Hotel Rwanda.
Yeah.
He probably got as pissed as I got watching that movie where you feel like, fuck it, I'm just going to grab as much artillery as I can and go help these goddamn people. Somebody needs to do something. Might as well be me. But then I'm like, oh, wait, I'm fucking robot.
Yeah. I can't hit the broadside of a barn.
I can't even. I don't even know how to schedule a flight to get over there.
Exactly.
13-year-olds kick my ass in Call of Duty.
Yeah.
This is not gonna.
And those same 13-year-olds over there would not be kicking your ass in Call of Duty. They would be shooting you for real.
Exactly.
I'm still playing Contra.
You get shot and teabagged in real life.
Oh,
Nobody-
or you'll end up like with your limbs like fucking hanging by your dick or something.
Yeah,
No.
because they are cruel. I mean, one thing this movie kind of touched on but didn't get into, and it made me think of the Unknown Soldier comic book where a guy's over there, he's trying to fight one of these liberation armies, and to do that, you got to kill a bunch of kids too. I mean, there's kids with machine guns pointing them at you, and even though he tries to go like, hey, don't kill the kids, let's save them. It's like in a firefight, you can't do that.
Yeah.
A gun is
When you can't see who you're shooting
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they give these kids guns as soon as they're capable of understanding how a gun works, pretty much.
Yeah.
They're big enough to not be knocked over by the recoil.
Right.
Yeah. And what are you supposed to do? I didn't feel like they really dealt with that part where it's like, oh, shit, these kids aren't going to all be like, free us. We don't want to be
Exactly.
killers. No, a lot of those kids are pretty brainwashed.
That would have been a whole other movie. That's a whole other movie that could be its own premise.
True.
And with the situation going on in Africa, there's so many tidbits of this that could be its own separate movie just to let you know the violence of it. But at the same time, it's like when you leave a movie, you're actually glad you're in a theater watching it.
Yeah.
Because when you walk out, you almost want to pretend that, yeah, that's happening, but wow, I really want to forget right now.
If nothing else, Corey, you nailed it when you said that, like, if nothing else about this film, you're glad that it's calling attention to a really fucked up issue going on right now in Africa.
Yeah, because I'm torn between how I feel about that. Because on the one hand, I really do feel like they could have, because you all addressed points that I totally agree with. I mean, like Coho said, the tone of the film. There's two different tones going on here. There's a biopic and there's an action film. And sometimes I can appreciate that, and other times I'm like, this just isn't working together, on the same movie for me. But at the same time, I feel like, man, to bring attention to a situation like this, a horrible situation like this, I mean, what better way to put it out there than an action film? Something that's not heavy, something that's not, too talky, or no pun intended here, or too preachy. I mean,
before there was that year where we got things like The Constant Gardener and The Interpreter that was trying to do it, but everybody was like, yeah, whatever. But now you got Gerard Butler shooting a gun. It's like, well, if
Americans are going to go in there and start killing people, then I'm in. White people killing black people? Let's check that shit out.
Well, see, that's the other thing, man. In the movie, it's like, this guy is clearly a racist. I mean, he busted somebody's house, like, give me the money, nigga, and I'm just like, okay, he's a scary racist too, and looking at this guy, and all of a sudden he wants to go over to Africa and help these Sudanese orphans, who are nothing but black people. Now, again, I don't doubt that this man had some epiphany where he said, "Oh, this is wrong how I call black people niggers, and I'm a racist." I don't doubt that man turned around at some